Yo, I'm LOR, aka Mega Blitz. In today's video, we're looking at Pidgeot Control. Now, for those that may not know, I've been playing Snorlax pretty much exclusively for the last 5 to 6 months, really having a fond love and passion for playing control decks, especially recently. And I was watching an all-out Blitzel stream about a month ago, and I was like, you know, I need to try bird control. So today, that's what we're going to be doing here. We're going to be looking at the gameplay footage I have of my very first attempt at playing Pidgeot Control. So let's jump right in to that deck list. Alrighty, here are at that deck list. Starting us off with Pidgeot EX, where it gets its name, Bird Control. Pidgeot EX has an ability quick search. Once during your turn, search your deck for a card, put that card into your hand. Can't use more than one quick search ability each turn. So we're effectively using this to search out our deck for any one card. Now, we have a lot of supporting cards going on in this deck here. Let's just start off at the front here with that Mimikyu with his ability Safeguard. Prevent all damage onto this Pokemon by attacks from your opponent's Pokemon EX and Pokemon V. Being able to really be helpful into decks like Regieleki, Lugia, Cerulege, Goldango, stuff like that, right? And of course, we have our Pidgeot. We have that Rotom V here with that instant charge ability. Once during your turn, you draw 3 cards. If you do, your turn ends. We have Genesect here with this ability Ace Nullifier. If this Pokemon has a Pokemon tool attached, your opponent can't play any Ace specs from their hand. So we can attach a Bravery Charm or our Hero's Cape, and our opponent can't play Ace specs from their hand. So very helpful things like Prime Catcher, Secret Box, Hero's Cape, or anything. Brilliant Blender. None of that stuff can be played at all. So very helpful in that regard. We also have a Mawile here with that Tempting Trap attack during your opponent's next turn. The defending Pokemon can't retreat during your next turn. The defending Pokemon takes 90 more damage from attacks. We're using it just to kind of trap our opponent's active Pokemon in the active spot and just kind of leave it there. We have a Sandshrew with that ability Sand Screen. Drainer cards in your opponent's discard pile can't be put into their deck by an effect of your opponent's item or supporter cards. Then we also have, and that's really helpful because things like Pow Pad or things like Super Rod or stuff like that. Sorry, not Super Rod as much. Team Yell's Cheer, Pow Pad, stuff like that is really helpful. Trainer cards in your opponent's discard pile can't be put into their deck by any effect of your opponent's item or supporter cards. So things like Silene, Team Yell's Cheer, Pow Pad aren't going to be able to put this stuff back into the deck. Very helpful into the mirror match, into stall as well, which is pretty important, I feel like. And of course, we have that Regieleki here with that electromagnetic sonar attack. Put a training card from your discard pile into your hand. Very helpful to kind of just get our Thornton back or our, a penny if we need it or anything like that. Got a Luxray V here with that first attack being that Fang Snipe for double colorless energy, 30 damage. Your opponent reveals their hand, discard a trainer card you find there. So not only do we get the knowledge of looking at their hand, we also get to shred their hand from a trainer card, which is pretty important as well, I feel like. So with this is very good in early game pressure, being able to just get that Artivan out of our Charizard play, our opponent's hand. Get that Sawdust out of our Raging Bolt opponent's hand, right? Very helpful in that regard. We have Chi-Yu EX in here with that Jealousy Singe attack. Discard the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck. Very helpful at the end of the game where you can kind of just penny loop your Chi-Yu and keep milling their deck out slowly. Or you get to a point at the end of the game or you just play against stall or something like that and you kind of just, you know what? I'm going to start milling you and discarding. You've exhausted almost all your resources. I'm going to help you exhaust the rest, right? Got the Wellspring Mask Ogerpon in here with that Sob attack for 1 colorless energy. During your opponent's next turn, the defending Pokemon can't retreat. So very similar to that Mawile in that regard. We have a Lumineon V here for that Luminous Sign. We play this card. We play this Pokemon from your hand onto the bench. Search your deck for a supporter card. Reveal it. Put it into your hand. We also have Bloodmoon Ursaluna EX in here with the ability Season Skill. Bloodmoon used by this Pokemon costs 1 less for each prize card your opponent has taken. 240 damage for 5, but if our opponent takes 5 prize cards, this attacks for free. So this card is in here because we do have the win condition to be able to take 6 prizes. That is something that Pidgeot Control is able to do. It is something that it actually does more frequently than you might think to win games. We can win by decking out our opponent, locking our opponent out of the game until they scoop, or we can win by, like I said, taking all 6 of our prize cards. So Opens up some pretty cool Thornton plays as well with this Bloodmoon Ursaluna EX. For our supporters here, we got 4 Arven, 3 Penny, 1 Xerosic Machinations, 1 Boss, 1 Giacomo, 1 Iono, 1 Thornton, 1 Airy. Just want to touch on 2 quick supporters here. Xerosic Machinations, your opponent discards cards from their hand until they have 3 cards in hand. Pretty important. It's not played in a whole lot of things except like Pidgeot Control install. And then we have Thornton here. Choose a basic Pokemon in your discard pile. Switch it with one of your basic Pokemon in play. Any attached cards, damage counters, special conditions, turns in play, and any other effects main on the new Pokemon. So, opens up some pretty cool plays, like I said, with that Bloodmoon Ursaluna EX, with, you know, Chi-Yu or anything like that. So we get milled, we can kind of just Thornton, switch it back out. Pretty helpful. We got 4 Nest Ball, 4 Ultra Ball, 3 Counter Catcher, 2 Rare Candy, 2 Pal Pad, 1 Lost Vacuum, 1 Night Stretcher, 1 Hisuian Heavy Ball, 1 Buddy Buddy Poffin, 2 Bravery Charm, and then our A-Spec is that Hero's Cape. Now, you can play Precious Trolley. All Out Blitzel, the king of Pidgeot Control, just got 3rd place. Huge congratulations to All Out Blitzel. Got 3rd place at San Antonio Regionals playing Pidgeot Control and played Precious Trolley in there. I think Precious Trolley is a great A-Spec, but it's very dependent on getting it that first turn. If you can't go second or go first and get your trolley off, it's really hard for you to set up. So I went for Hero's Cape in that regard because I didn't want to be so reliant on Precious Trolley. And this is a little bit of an older list. I think this is actually one of All Out Blitzel's older lists, believe it or not. But Hero's Cape, and it kind of gives me that sense of Snorlax stall feeling. 1 Forest Sealstone, 1 Artazon, 2 Double Turbo, 2 Mist, and 1 Fire Energy. Now, let's jump right in to that gameplay. Already here at that Pidgeot Control gameplay here. Very first time playing Pidgeot Control. We're gonna see if we can pick up that W here with Bird Control. Unfortunately, starting off with Genesect in the active spot does not feel great, but we start with that Buddy Buddy Poffin, which does feel pretty good. Our opponent here gonna start off with that Dino. So it looks like we're playing against Hydreigon EX, which I feel like this is a pretty bad matchup. I know for Snorlax Stall it's a bad matchup because that milling is really difficult to deal with at times. And a lot of these Hydreigon decks are playing Petron EX, which makes it hard to be able to kind of lock them out of the game and, you know, retreat lock and stuff like that. And unfortunately for Pidgeot Control, we don't really have the out of being able to like accompanying flute and fill their bench before they can play. Before they can play that Petron EX. So, Buddy Buddy Poffin coming down here. We're gonna unfortunately only have 1 Pidgey, so which means we prize the other Pidgey here. Arven, take a quick look, see what we got going on. We're gonna go Nest Ball here, and we prized our Forest Sealstone as well, unfortunately here. And then we're going to attach that Hero's Cape to the Genesect, slowing down that Neo Upper Energy or that Prime Catcher or whatever they might play. And then Nest Ball going to go Rotom V. Now, you also might notice when looking through there, I also prized a Pidgeot EX as well. So not only did we prize a Pidgey and a Pidgeot EX, we also prized Forest Sealstone. We have prized 3 incredibly great cards to help us start in the early game of this match here. So, Instant Charge is going to draw 3. Getting ourselves into Ultra Ball and Rare Candy and stuff. So next turn, we're going to be able to have access to our Pidgeot EX here. We're going to be able to Ultra Ball, discard 2 cards, Rare Candy into Pidgeot, and get things rolling here. Our opponent going to go Rare Candy into Pidgeot EX, Rare Candy into Hydreigon. Iono, unfortunately here, put us into Ultra Ball, Rare Candy again, please. And we do not. We unfortunately get kind of a bunk hand, which is not what we wanted to deal with. But what can you do? So, our opponent going to attach a Dark Energy like Hydreigon. Back to us here. We're going to have that Arven to start us off here. We're going to go Bravery Charm here, plus that Rare Candy. We're going to have access to Nest Ball here. We're going to use that Nest Ball here. And the reason I'm going to use the Nest Ball is I wanted to grab Wellspring Ogerpon EX. I wanted to try to start locking up that Pidgeot EX. And the reason I picked the Wellspring Ogerpon and not the Mawile is that Hydreigon EX has a second attack called Obsidian, which does 130 damage to the active and then 130 to 2 of your opponent's bench Pokemon. Well, Wellspring Ogerpon is a Terra Pokemon, so it cannot take damage on the bench. So that is the reason I picked that. We don't play Manaphy in the deck, so went for the Wellspring Ogerpon for that reason here. And then Instant Charge to end the turn. We do get ourselves into Rare Candy Pidgeot EX, which is great. Our opponent here going to have Buddy Poffin. Going to use that quick search as well, but Buddy Poffin going to get both Duskulls, so we're playing the Dusknoir package as well. Our opponent going to go Crashing Headbutt 200, discarding Artazon, Sandshrew, and a counter catcher here, which is now unfortunate. I don't want to lose our Hero's Cape, but first we're going to go Rare Candy into that Pidgeot EX here. And the reason I don't want to lose the Hero's Cape is it's really a good A-Spec, especially when you're going against a deck that can hit really hard. So I want to kind of prioritize keeping the Hero's Cape here. So we're going to go Quick Search, grab ourselves that Penny here. And I'm going to use Penny. We're going to pick up that Genesect here. Pick up the Genesect. And now I could have actually, what I should be doing here is I should banish the Genesect and then attach a Bravery Charm to it here. But I don't do that. And I should, because now this opens up my opponent to find a Neo Upper Energy and then use Obsidian and kind of go crazy, right? So, gonna just Nest Ball, grab ourselves that Mimikyu here, Instant Charge, draw 3, get an Ultra Ball, Rare Candy, and an Arven. Like I said, probably should have benched the Genesect here and attached the Bravery Charm, but our opponent also might just not be playing that Neo Upper Energy. They might be playing something like Prime Catcher or Unfair Stamp. I'm not too sure. Quick Search going to come out here for our opponent. Going to get that Dusclops here. Going to be having access to that Cursed Blast attack. So, going to be pretty big here from our opponent. Going to be able to use Cursed Blast. Going to be able to put 5 damage counters on something. Maybe eyeing up our Mimikyu here. They can't really do any damage to it with that Hydreigon here. But they're actually going to put on the Pidgeot EX, which I find quite interesting. Pidgeot EX going to take 5 damage counters. Get a double turbo off of our prize cards. Counter catcher coming up here. Going to pull up our Rotom Crashing Headbutt for 200. Mill our Luxray V Ultra Ball and an Airy. Taking 2, putting us at a 5-4 split. So, not quite what we wanted, but we have some pretty cool things we can do. We're going to counter catcher up there Pidgeot EX here. And we're going to have we're going to be able to actually sob this turn to make it so they can't retreat. But first, Quick Search coming down here. I was hoping to grab an Airy, but they unfortunately milled it. Now, I could grab Palpad, which is an idea, but it's just not really worth it to me. So we're actually going to go Night Stretcher here. And the reason I grab the Night Stretcher is because I might want the Sandshrew back at some point in this game, or the Luxray V. I'm not too sure, but I also prized that other Pidgey, right? So if my Pidgeot EX gets knocked out, I can go, okay, Night Stretcher, grab the Pidgey, rebench it, have Pidgeot EX, you know, afterwards and kind of go that route. I'm not too sure. Or next turn I can go Quick Search, Hisuian Heavy Ball, get the Pidgey out of the prizes, bench the Pidgey. If the Pidgeot EX gets knocked out, not too big of a deal. Night Stretcher, grab the Pidgeot EX, Rare Candy into that Pidgeot EX again, and I still have access to my search engine. Sob on our opponent, though, making so they can't retreat, but they had the Neo Upper Energy plus the Pecharunt EX, so just gets right around that, doesn't matter. Obsidian going to come down here for our opponent. Going to put some hefty damage on our Pidgeot EX and our Wellspring Ogerpon EX here, which is not what we wanted to deal with. Now, here's what I can do. I have access to Thornton, right? And I have access to Quick Search. So, and I have an Ultra Ball in my hand. Now, here's my thinking. I can grab myself my Bloodmoon Ursaluna EX, right? I can grab Bloodmoon Ursaluna EX. I can discard it off of Ultra Ball. I have an energy on my Wellspring Ogerpon already. I have Double Turbo in hand and Thornton. So I could potentially try to punch into this Hydreigon and start forcing my opponent to have to deal with it, or have Rare Candy, Dusknoir in their hand or some degree of that. So we're going to go Thornton, put up our Bloodmoon Ursaluna into the active spot. We're going to attach that Double Turbo Energy, and we're going to punch for 220 damage, it's looking like here. 220 damage right on to that Hydreigon EX, putting him at 230, 240 after that poison. Next turn, I can go Quick Search, Penny, pick up, and then retreat out of the Pidgeot, back into the Bloodmoon Ursaluna EX. But my math is unfortunately not correct. They could Obsidian and just knock out my Pidgeot EX. But they wouldn't be able to knock out the Bloodmoon Ursaluna even if they used Crashing Headbutt, because they would only be at 330. So kind of interesting, but our opponent unfortunately does have the game here. Curse Blast onto the active Bloodmoon Ursaluna EX, putting us at a 4-4 split here. And then I take my prize card, and then they're going to be able to go Obsidian, knock out my Bloodmoon Ursaluna EX and my Pidgeot EX to take their last 4 prize cards, unfortunately. And at one point, I have been on the record, I have said that Pidgeot EX is the hardest deck, in my opinion, to play in the current meta, and I think that stands true. I think Pidgeot Control is an incredibly difficult deck to play, and it requires a lot of practice. But still a really cool deck. Unfortunately, couldn't pick up the W there at the first time picking up Pidgeot Control, but I've been playing it a little bit more often, and I feel like I have a little bit of a better understanding on how to navigate some matchups. And I did also watch the free Bird Control Masterclass on All Out Blitzel's YouTube channel. If you want to get better at Bird Control, definitely check out All Out Blitzel's channel is the place where I would be looking. But let's jump right in to that outro. All right, going to do it for today's video. If you guys are interested in playing Bird Control, I'll make sure to put the deck list that I played in today's video in the description below, ready for copy paste into TCG Live. And while you're down there, if you're enjoying the content I've been making stuff for the channel, don't forget to leave a like, smash the subscribe button. I really would appreciate it. And I'll see you all in the next one. Peace!